Okay, so I figured out the reason why my flashlight wasn't dying. It is because I was first checking if the flashlight is on before we start deleting out some of the battery. And by default, my flashlight is not on. So what I need to do is basically reset the flashlight is on variable when I turn the flashlight on. And if you remember, you have a button or an input action that will actually turn the flashlight on. We haven't added this variable to that. So let's go find that. Here, let's see. Okay, here's my input action for turning the flashlight on. So we already had triggered the first person and everything and toggle the visibility of the flashlight. Now we need to add this right here. So what we're doing here is we're setting the is flashlight on to true once I turn it on. But first I need to add a flip-flop so that whenever I turn it off, we'll set the is flashlight on to not true. So again, I'll show you what this is going to look like. You'll have the toggle visibility here. You're going to add a flip-flop so that whether or not I turn it on or off, it's going to turn the flashlight is on variable on or off. So first, when I turn it on, it's going to be set is flashlight. Oop. And I'm spelling this wrong. Set is flashlight on. To true. And then just to test it, let me say I'm going to print string flashlight is on. Next, I'm going to set what happens when we hit the button again and turn the flashlight off, which is our B. We're going to set is flashlight on to false. Because, you know, when you hit the button again, it turns it off. Therefore, is flashlight on should be false. And again, I'm going to print the string. Flashlight is turned off. Just to show is turned off. You don't have to add this. We'll delete it later. But just for our testing purposes, we'll keep these print strings to show us whether or not the flashlight is on or off because variables are invisible. Okay, so now whenever I turn the flashlight on with my button, it should also turn on the flashlight variable and then complete our code to this point that's like getting rid of our battery. Okay, cool. So let's see how it works. Okay, so I'm in third person, gonna switch to first person, and let's turn the flashlight on. Oh, my flashlight. Oh, my flashlight is dead. You know why my flashlight is dead? Because I didn't set the initial flashlight level to 100. So we want them to spawn in with some batteries. And so we need to go back and go to our flashlight level, battery level. See, my battery level is set to 0 by default. We need to set it to a number. So like, let's set it to the maximum. Give them the max battery to begin with. And again, that was my problem, so this should fix it. Boom, boom, boom. Running, going to third person. Ugh. And now I'm gonna turn my flashlight on. And it's working. As I can see, the flashlight's on. And I'm slowly losing battery. Now, it's going to take a while for it to die, but I'll just wait. You can see the numbers going down. And now, it's set. Now, the reason that it didn't kind of taper off is because I didn't really set anything to like dim the flashlight. So, you know, this works. Like, my flashlight did die eventually, but I didn't really get any warning as to when it was going to die because it stayed strong and then just suddenly died. So I would say what we want to do is actually set up a code to make the flashlight dim before it actually dies, to give the players an idea, hey, your flashlight's dying, and kind of scare them and help them to actually go and get some battery. And that is that's a way of showing the UI diegetically. So we talked about the UI, and basically you can add a UI like this like this battery bar that I had added to test it. But why not just show the player that their battery's dying by making it dim? It's more elegant. So we're gonna have to set that up, because as of now, our flashlight is either on or dies and it's off. So for the next part of our dimming flashlight, I want you guys to recall how you created the flashlight. So you have in your viewport, which I've hidden, and this spotlight has different attributes here in the details panel, which I'll enlarge. We set our settings for our spotlight, and that controls basically how our flashlight appears. So your settings may be different than mine. For mine, I had the intensity low because I also turned off inverse square radius, which basically makes it much brighter. And because of that, I pretty much have to control my brightness with the intensity. I also have the attenuation radius. The attenuation radius is basically how long the thing appears. I'm going to use these as like variables in my blueprint and control them based on the levels that I get in my battery level, so that as my battery level goes down, my light intensity should go down. I have a different setting, and you may need to do this a different type of way, or in other words, make it go down faster or slower based on how much your intensity is. But for now, I'm gonna just show you what mine was, and we'll get into it. So we have already basically made our battery level go down as the flashlight is turned on. And what we're gonna do now is, in addition to the battery level going down in the number, we're gonna actually have that affect our spotlight brightness. So the first thing you need to do is remember you're subtracting 1 from your battery level every 0.2 seconds that the battery is on, and this number can be changed later on to reflect a realistic flashlight dying. So first, we're gonna need to pull out our spotlight's intensity. What I'm gonna do is, here I'm gonna drag this out, and I can actually say I'm gonna set the intensity, ooh, I spelled it wrong, intensity of, and look, it's the intensity of spotlight 0. That is our spotlight, and it actually references the intensity of our spotlight in our third person character blueprint, which is awesome. It's going to be set to a new intensity based on our battery level, okay? But we want to start at the full intensity of our spotlight. Like, in other words, we're not just going to bring it down to 100 or the battery level suddenly. We're going to bring it down basically by the amount that needs to be subtracted out. Okay. Just a little hack. I'm gonna set my battery level max to 200. And now I can subtract out from my spotlight intensity every time that my battery level is being subtracted, it will correspondingly subtract out my spotlight intensity. So because of that, I can make it easy, and I can basically get my battery level boom, and then reset my intensity to whatever it is. So as my battery level is subtracting out, it's going to also subtract my spotlight by the same level. My spotlight intensity, at least. That's the easy way to do it, okay? If your spotlight is set up differently than mine, we may need to problem solve around that. But for now, let's check it out, okay? But we should see it start to die right about now. It's getting smaller, it's dying, so only around 50 do we actually see it get smaller, and now it's dead, and I cannot turn it back on because it is dead. Okay, so this is the complex way to make it go down. If you have a number that's different than the battery level, what you're gonna need to do is figure out how much has been subtracted but from the maximum battery level, and use that number to subtract from the number that battery attribute has started at. It's a bit confusing, but basically you're gonna need to make the number go down at the same rate as the battery level goes down, but without setting the battery level to the same number of that attribute. So for the demonstration purposes, let's talk about the attenuation radius. The attenuation radius is how far does the battery flashlights reach. So my attenuation radius starts at 1,600, So clearly it won't work for us to make our battery level that number and reset it by taking the number and putting it here. What we're going to need to do is a bit more complex, quite. Okay. So what we're going to need to do first is grab the max battery. Get it, okay? And then get the battery float, which will be whatever has been subtracted down to that point. From those, we're going to get a subtract. Okay, so we're taking the max battery level and then subtracting whatever is the current. The result of that number will be basically how much has the battery been reduced by. Then we're going to take that reduction and do some more math. We're going to subtract the attenuation radius by the number that must be subtracted from the max battery level. Ooh. So we're going to take the attenuation radius, get attenuation number, boom. And we're going to subtract that attenuation number from the result of how much it is. Now, the attenuation number here, I had to make a variable for it because I can't really grab it any other way. So what I did is I went to my variables, I created one, attenuation number, made it a float, and then set that number to whatever had been my attenuation variable number, which was in my case 16384. Boom. So we're gonna set that number to 16384. Is there a more elegant way to do this? Yes. But this is the quick way. So we're going to take the attenuation number and subtract it there. And then that result is going to be the number that we get of the attenuation radius. So here we're going to go in and we're going to set attenuation radius of spotlight. And the new radius will be the original attenuation number subtracted by whatever is the number that the battery level's gone down by. Woo. So basically what it's doing is just subtracting the attenuation number the same way as has been subtracting the battery level. Now, I think we could do better. I think we could multiply this number by like something, because it's obviously a much bigger number. So what I'm going to do here is pull this out and say multiply. And then we're going to just multiply that out by 10. That way it will actually go down. Okay, so let's check it out. Boom. Okay, will it work? I really don't know if it will really show up, but hey, at least we tried. Okay, so the flashlight's on. The number is going down. Let's make it go far just to see. I'm seeing a change. I'm not sure if it's really changing the attenuation radius by a significant amount. But basically that's how you would do it. Let's try making it go even more. So I'll try doing this by 100 and see what that looks like. If we can just notice it more. We'll see. Oh, I think it went off way too fast. Never mind, that's too much. Haha. It went down to 0 rapidly. Very rapidly. So with these things, you kind of have to mess around with it and just see like, okay, is it really doing anything? How can I change it up? To me, I think that we could kind of set the subtraction levels to have a bigger effect. But, you know, this is the beginning. I would like to